Stop it. Stop with the changes. And of course, Katie Lance is doing a 3-day boot camp of everything you need to know. And what time is it? 10 o'clock. Everything good happens at 10 o'clock. Okay, it says I'm going live. It says I'm live. I think we're live. Hi, guys. Boot camp. Oops. Of everything you need to know. And what time is it? 10 o'clock. Stop. Okay, we're live.
Yeah, we're live.
We're live. We're always live when I can hear myself talk because I haven't shut my volume off quick enough. But let's see. I'll do my imitation of Romper Room and wait for some good folks to hop in here. And well, it's 10 o'clock. We're actually like on time. Oh, they're coming now. They're coming now.
You look like Glenda the Good Witch.
As opposed to really.
just the hand gestures reminded me. Gather round, gather round. I don't know.
No, I really wish I had one of those empty mirror frames, hand mirror frames.
Oh, I got this.
That could look a little crazy. That could look a little crazy.
I'm not on my eyeballs. Well, good. Well, happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. Do you have anything in your cup?
I do. I have my Woman Up cup today.
Ooh.
I'm sporting a strawberry protein shake today.
Wow, that's pretty good. I'm sporting the end of my second barrel of coffee here. And for the good of the group, I will not drink anymore because it could get ugly. But anyhow, welcome everybody. How are you all this morning? Like seeing all the little comments in the comment section here, and be sure to chime on in because I'm sure we have a lot to get caught up on because we played, I don't want to say hooky last week. We didn't really play hooky last week. We had, what did we have going on last week?
We were at Reimagine.
That's right.
CAR's expo. And you know, it's not just booths, and of course we're virtual, but there's always a ton of educational sessions. So they typically overlap with our CAR governance meetings. So it was great to be able to do the governance meetings one week and do the expo education sessions the second week. So,
and if we missed the governance meetings, we still had one more day on Thursday after Reimagine was over, and they had 3 meetings that day. Public policy and NAR directors, and really a really super good YPN forum.
Yeah.
There was
really
good stuff that went on the past couple of weeks. And if you guys signed up for Reimagine, they had like a record number because, well, none of us had to like leave our house and get dressed up and get in our car and go. You know, if you signed up, there's a lot of really good stuff that's available. I think it's available till the end of the year, if I remember correctly.
Sounds right.
Yeah, so you can, as far as I know, use your link, sign in just like you did if you went live, and then you can access all of the recordings. There was a certain panel, I think, that was like first out of the gate that, you know, somebody we know here was on.
And you did a great job.
Well, thank you. I was really fortunate to be asked to be on the virtual transactions panel. And you know what was really interesting on that was, you know, I think everybody goes into the expectation of hearing panels, you know, oh, I'm going to find out the latest high-tech thing and the new app for this and blah 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 blah. I got more comments about going online with my client, both of us on the phone. We weren't even FaceTime, we were just on the phone with each other, going through photos of the houses that she wanted to see and discussing, okay, well, you notice this over here, well, this is it. You see this over here, that's that. Do you really want to go see this house? And we weeded through so many that she just said, I don't want to see these after what you told me. And that was the tip that I got the most comments on. And it's not high tech at all. This is called little ingenuity. what can we do utilizing the things that we're familiar with now? And I thought that was really interesting because I didn't even realize that I had fully kind of said that, and I got a lot of messages back on that. So, you know, so if you guys want to go on there, see what I had to say. There's more tips. There's more tips from the different agents that were there. Lily Kwan and I'm forgetting Shaniqua's last name. Courtney Polis was the moderator, but it was really, really good. And there was some really, really, really good panels. What was your favorite, Lori? Did you have a favorite?
Gosh, I don't remember. There were several really good ones. I think one that I enjoyed the most probably was the Woman Up panel, just because, you know, I knew everybody on the panel, and it was just a great conversation. And one thing that really struck me about it, it was, honestly, I don't even remember the real title of the topic, but it had to do with, you know, women stepping up, especially during the time of pandemic. And it was just amazing to me to watch everyone in unison, just nodding their head in understanding, in agreement. I mean, there were 6 people. So you just see this, you know, unison head bob. It was kind of beautiful. It was kind of beautiful because, you know, everybody clearly on that panel was resonating with what each of them were saying. So that was one of my favorites. I also attended the YPN one, which was very informative. And it's always great when we talk about different areas of our state and the impact that the lack of housing has, or any potential for housing challenges that they have. So overall, really, really good sessions. I didn't get to see all of them, but like you know, I was glad we have access to the recordings. So the couple that I really wanted to see, I can go back and take a look and maybe even rewatch a few.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am, because I didn't realize that they were overlapping.
Yeah.
And so I'm like frantically pressing buttons saying, I want to get in here, and saying, oh, I guess it's done. So I was a little frustrated on that point, but that was just me and my poor planning. But, you know, I'm sure everybody else was much more hip and with it than me. And there is some good information there. And if we can get a copy or a link to the YPN forum that was done on Thursday, I'm going to put it up in the group. I didn't realize that they had a senior fair housing attorney at CAR, that was mainly her jam.
I didn't realize that either.
I thought it was really amazing to hear her speak. Great presentation, great presentation. If I can get the link, I'll bring it into the Nerdy Realtor group so we can all see it. It's also going to be in Deliberately Fair Housing. We'll pop it into there. And, you know, one thing that I'm going to share with the group that I bet probably nobody in this group really is aware of, and granted, I was aware of it, but not really aware of it, was that veterans and active military are now, as of the first of the year, 2020, are a protected class. And that really opens up some interesting conversations on how we treat veterans and active military. Oh, I see. Stephanie's in was tagged. Hopefully she's going to get this conversation. Anyhow, back to this. How we treat veteran and active military potential home buyers and potential tenants, because you cannot discriminate upon them. And if a veteran is trying to use their VA benefits, and we just kind of all do well, you know, that VA loan is going to be such a pain, and, you know, the appraisal is going to be a big deal, and oh my God, look, they have 0 down. You know, let's go with that 20% one. Just because they have 0 down doesn't mean that they are not a good, viable buyer. There's this thing called leveraging your money, see? And if you have money in the bank, but you can still qualify for a loan and not touch the money in the bank, wouldn't you be pretty smart not touching that money in the bank and letting that 2.5, 2 3/4% interest rate do the work for you? But we look at it from an agent standpoint. Well, they're high risk because they're putting zero down, and they're just too much trouble. So I wonder who is going to become the first test case for discrimination on that front. Does that qualify as discrimination?
Yeah, it absolutely can. If they are overlooked because of that protection, then it is discrimination. And also, one thing that I found interesting was Amanda. She's the senior counsel at CAR, and I had heard her speak before, but I didn't know she was her specialty was fair housing. So it was great. She gave us the history of fair housing, but she dug deep. And one thing that I didn't really consider was if you favor somebody because of their protected class 2, that can also be deemed discrimination. So, we always think of the overlooking of someone because of a protection, but if we favor someone because of a protection, that can also be deemed as discrimination. So it's not against them, but it's against someone else. It gets really tricky though, because I remember for years, years ago, I remember for years thinking, wow, people over 40 are in a protected class and I'm under 40 at the time. So I'm under 40 and why am I being discriminated against? So there's a real possibility of people to feel that way, that they're discriminated against because they lack that classification. So it's probably harder to prove, but it's something we need to be mindful of. Don't go out of your way to not discriminate against a class and then you go, full 180. That's a danger zone too.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, I look back at some of the things that, I put out in maybe private, well, I don't even think they were private remarks. I put in public remarks that, FHA and VA homebuyers were welcome. We love veterans. Hey, guess what? I ain't putting in anymore. But I think that it's really a matter of education of the agents at this point, because many, many agents are scared of VA. Many lenders are not able to do VA loans, so they're going to steer their clients into another product because they work for a lender that isn't certified or whatever they have to do to do it. But we need to kind of just be cognizant of that. I think that they're more discriminated against than they are favored, just because of, excuse the word, ignorance of what to do with a VA offer, how to be sure that it's, like Harry says in here, I've never had a real issue with VA loans. If you're prepared, the appraisal is not going to be an issue. And that's really all it is if you know what you're doing as a listing agent, you really shouldn't have any problems. The problem is, do you know what you're doing as a listing agent? Instead of doing the zero down, we don't want to touch them. So that's something that I think a lot of the, people that are running offices out there need to be cognizant of, telling, their agents, you can't really discriminate on the fact it's a VA loan, other than, are they competitive? Is it a competitive offer? And all money's green at the end of the day. If you're coming in with a, 50% down versus a zero down, but your zero down is offering you more money, what difference does it make to your seller as long as you know what you're doing? And it's really not that much to know. It's harder to know how to prepare a VA offer so you can present it properly and not wig people out. But maybe that's something we'll talk about down the road. I know it's a class that we've been working on a little bit in the past. So, we may do a little VA FHA training in here. I can't imagine why I had not done my condo project approval stuff in Nerdy Realtors.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We've done it a couple other places outside of this group since we've had the group. So yeah, we should plan on that.
We should do that one. And Nada says, okay, I always put neither description or agent remarks VA and FHA approved if it's a condo complex. That's okay, because you're just stating it's approved for FHA loans, it's approved for VA loans. But I do have to kind of say, I was kind of proud of myself with my stump the attorney question during the FHA or during the VA comments, because what about condo complexes that have never gotten a VA approval? Now, we have to remember these fair housing laws apply to HOAs as well as us agents and such. So, that's going to be something that's going to be interesting. I think I need to do a little bit more research on that. Again, that's something that we, if we do the class in here, or maybe we just put it into chunks or something, I don't know, we'll figure something out. We'll go over how you can find those stealth VA approvals out there, because the database is a mess. So, so that's that. But one other word on active military, and I think this is very important when you're dealing with a landlord-tenant situation. People either love or hate active military members as tenants, because they're the best tenants you're going to find. They're just really stand-up people. However, if they get deployed or they get reassigned, you have to break the lease. You have no option. You have to legally, you have to break that lease because they're being moved to wherever they have to move. So I think that's going to be interesting on the landlord tenant front for your areas. Let's say San Clemente, San Juan Capistrano, anybody who's making those commutes, the Oceanside area, Fallbrook area, anybody who's doing landlord tenant stuff in those areas kind of need to be cognizant of what they're doing in that remark or in that area, because if you're like, well, I don't want to rent out a unit because you're active military, well, guess what? You're discriminating. So that's a little something to put in a little memory bank there.
Yeah.
So what else was going on? We got to get everybody caught up on what we've been doing the past 2 weeks.
Honestly, you ever have those times you're just so busy, you honest to goodness just cannot remember what the heck happened? That's how I feel October has been for me.
It's been that way, hasn't it? Because so much has been going on for so long. I think wasn't our first CAR business meeting event in September?
Yeah, actually it was September 29th or something was our first, I had a meeting on the 29th. I guess you did as well.
Yep.
And yeah, then it just carried on. It was really spread out over 3 weeks. And, I don't want to discourage anyone from being involved. It's not normally spread out over 3 weeks. It's just with virtual. Scheduling is a little different. In person, we have a lot of things that overlap every single day. And so we can't attend everything, and we can't actually participate in certain committees because we know they're going to overlap. So this gives us the ability to actually do more. It feels more daunting to say it was spread out over 3 weeks than the reality of, it was maybe 2 or 3 meetings a day that I attended. So it's not hugely exhausting each day for 3 weeks as compared to in person. I mean, by the time we would get home in person, we were just out. I would nap for 4 hours, first day. So it's exhausting in a different way. But I think it's more mentally exhausting in that it feels longer because it is spread out more. But I don't want to discourage anyone from being involved, because as you can tell, this is how Lisa and I stay informed. And this is how we have been able to connect with so many real estate agents across the state and build these relationships. So, I encourage you, if you have not been involved, still be involved. It's not usually this long and this tiring. We're kind of being babies about it.
The reality of the situation is when we are in person, we are limited as to what we can do, because you can't be in 3 rooms at the same time, and which, you're cramming what took us 2.5 weeks to attend virtually is normally crammed into a week. So you're missing this and you're missing that. And then we have our
there's no replay.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's times that we would group together in person to talk about, what went on in this meeting, what went on in this meeting. And then we have a board meeting that's normally split into 2 days. And Lori and I are both CAR directors. And normally, if we're in person, meeting starts at about 3 Friday, and a little barky dog in the back, sorry, 3 o'clock Friday, over at 5 o'clock Friday. And then the next day, it resumes at 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., depending on how much we have going on. And they can be pretty, I don't want to say heated. Depends. I mean, you know, we do votes where you've got a room of how many of us are there?
I think there's 800 people in there.
Okay. You got a room of 800 people. And you have a close vote because it's a voice vote. Guess what you get to do? You get to sit there and do a written vote. Once they do a standing vote, if they can't get the count right, you get to do a written vote. I mean, that there will suck up a half an hour easy.
Longer.
Yeah.
Longer.
So this year we had a virtual board of directors meeting, and I think they scheduled it a little short. I think they had it for 4 hours. And what time was it finally over, Lori?
After 6 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a long meeting. It was a good meeting.
It was a great meeting, but it was just really long. So yeah, we ended up having the 6 hour meeting, but in one sitting that was scheduled for 4 hours. So if we had scheduled it for 6 hours and it lasted 6 hours, we all would have been okay. But I think everyone was pretty tired by the end. So, but great discussion. I mean, this is one benefit with being virtual is more people spoke up during our committee sessions to bring out points of views that hadn't been thought of. And the same thing at the board of directors meeting, you know, people were speaking up, more people were speaking up because it's easier to just raise your hand virtually and then they call on you and the camera's on you and you speak. But in person, you've got to get up out of your seat. You've got to navigate through, you know, 80 tables to get to the microphone.
Which of the 5 microphones is the closest, and why am I getting up and everybody's looking at you and you're just like,
at you.
I mean, I'll get up at a committee meeting and I'll talk at a committee meeting. I have yet to stand at a board meeting and actually say anything. However, Lori did, you know, she cleaned with one word. Lori cleaned up a motion that made its way through one committee meeting, then went to another committee meeting, then went to executive, and it was this big battle on the floor. And Lori came up with one word and straightened the whole thing out. So that was like really super awesome.
No, and I had not spoken up at a board meeting in the past because it's intimidating. You know, a committee meeting, same thing. I'll speak up, and hopefully we. There's always people that have the same point of view. So sometimes, you know, we don't have to be those people that stand up and say the same thing that 5 people before us said. You know, we're not that people. So typically we think like other people think too, or other people think like we think. So our points are usually made, but this one was just not happening. And I was like, I can't anymore.
Couldn't find the word. Nobody could find the word. And then Lori's in a text message chat. What about this? And it was like, get up to the microphone and say something.
Yeah, it's quite funny.
So it was really cool. That was really cool though, because it's what needed to be done. And so, you know, and we're doing good work. We're doing work that affects all of the realtors in the state. Sometimes it affects all of the licensees in the state. And, you know, is anything, carved in stone right now that we can discuss? I don't really think that there is. But there's some awesome stuff, awesome work that's been done. And, you know, I'm really proud that Lori came up with the word that was needed and got up there and said it. And it was just like, oh, so awesome. But, you know.
And let me expand a little bit on that because I don't want people to think that it's so secretive up there. The reality is a lot of the conversations with the stuff that we're working on is potential legislation. Yeah. And so, you know, to talk about it would just put misinformation out there right now, because these are things we want to accomplish, but until, you know, we can connect with our legislators and bills are drafted and then it goes through the process, you know, it's just stuff we'd like to do. So we don't want to confuse anybody on, oh, hey, here's a new rule. Well, the reality is it's not a new rule, may or may not ever be a new rule. So we talk about potential legislation, and those are the things we kind of dig deep into. How will it affect people? How will it affect consumers? And how will it affect the agents and brokers and our entire industry? So some great discussions, and hopefully, the good work that we did will translate into bills that get voted on, or get through Congress and are passed statewide. So stay
And
tuned.
Harry wants to know what the word was.
The word was license renewal. It was 2 words. License
It was
renewal.
really renewal. Renewal was
The word, yeah.
but you're all going to just have to stay tuned and find out what all of that was about. But we do good work, and and thank you to everybody who's tuning in right now that is involved. We've got a lot of people that are on this broadcast right now that are intimately involved in many different things, regarding our industry. And you know what? It's actually a lot of fun too. You meet a lot of really cool people. I have a whole network. If I need an agent anywhere in the state, I know agents all over the state, so I can find agents like that. And it's getting to that point around the country too.
Well, and if I can expand a little further too, because I just thought of this thought, I remember being a new agent, and even when I was a broker for a large company, agents would ask, why are the rules this way? Who made these rules? Well, if you have something that you don't like the rule, or you think there should be a rule, this is how it works. This is how we do it. These rules are not put out by CAR. These are laws. And so based on the interpretation of the laws, then the Department of Real Estate gets involved, or other entities get involved. But when we say, why do we have these rules? Well, we have these rules because there was a problem, and rules were created, and we can modify those rules, but we have to change the law, or we have to add law. And so if there's anything that you think about and say, why don't we do it this way instead? Bring it up. You can bring it up to Lisa and I. We can filter it to who it needs to go to, so it can become a conversation. That's how we make these changes. That's how we improve our industry. We make it more, we make it stricter so that people follow the rules. Now, okay, a law doesn't enforce the rule. I mean, just because there's a law doesn't mean people aren't going to break it. And that's unfortunately something that we know goes on in our industry, but at least it gives us something to work with to say, well, you've violated this law. You violated this DRE regulation. So, or maybe it's code of ethics and you violated the code of ethics. So that is how this all works, and you too can be part of it. So the more you know.
The more you know.
I'm wearing my realtor shirt today.
Oh, look at you. I'm wearing a sweater. I'm pretending it's fall.
It felt like yesterday I could smell it in the air a little bit, but not today.
Yeah, it kind of looks fallish today. There was
blinded
overcast, so I thought I'll just put on my sweater.
Oh.
We'll see what happens. We'll see. I'll probably be sweating in 10 minutes.
I didn't have my fan on today, so I'm hot. So anyways, moving on. So that was
moving on. How about those Dodgers? I just got to throw that out because I'll probably put on my Dodger t-shirt. Oh my God, was that a game last night? Okay, we'll just move on from there.
Awesome. Okay.
Oh my God, it was a game, I will tell you. Anyhow, anything else that came up that was worth a darn? Anything that we should be keeping an eye on out there in realtor land?
No, I've referenced many times about the Friday meetings that I go to. Because there's not been any significant changes, the meetings will actually be scaled back to twice a month. So there was a meeting on Friday. However, I was involved in something else, so I pretty much had the meeting muted for most of it. So I missed it. I don't have any notes on it, but the truth is there's just not been any significant updates that there's no need for a weekly meeting. So they're going to go every other week. And over the last few weeks, the last few sessions, they've been great, but it's been more of CAR hotline, people reaching out and saying, I'm having this issue, what should we do? And they will answer questions, but they want them to be relevant to more than just one person. So they generalize it to make sure that we're all learning from it. So I don't have anything new to report. And there won't be any meeting this week. So after the future meeting, which I think is on the 20, I guess it's on the 30th, then I'll let you guys know.
Okay, good.
Our
And,
session in November.
and something else that we have coming up is we have the national meetings. We liked October so much. We're going to do it again in November.
Yeah.
But I've got like an emergency. I can't get in to see your Facebook thing. So, I mean, like he's using all caps. So I know like this person is really super frustrated. So I'm over here multitasking. This is what we do. This is how we live. But it's all good. We really don't have any COVID updates, but for the industry, but something that I really wasn't aware of too terribly much. Oh, wait a second. Maybe I didn't let him in. Oops. I'm trying Dennis. I'm trying Dennis. This is Paige. Okay, Paige is now Dennis Grimes. I don't know why you can't join us. Anyhow, so I'll put that down and get back. He can just watch the replay. Okay, so we don't have any real changes in industry guidance. However, I was just, going through whatever it is that pops up on my social media, and I found a New York Times article, of all things, that was talking about changes in California's guidance for private gatherings, which I thought was kind of interesting because I hadn't really heard much on this. I heard a little something, but nothing really. And I guess is what they're trying to figure out is, California's been really doing good on COVID numbers, believe it or not. We're hearing the news and, you're hearing about all kinds of, numbers going up all over the country, spikes here, spikes there. And so I was a little worried. I was just like, oh my gosh, well, maybe California's bad because I saw on the map, California's bad. Well, we're as bad as we've been. So really, I don't think we're going to be seeing anything really change too terribly on guidance because we're going to be having our cold weather, and who knows, we may just be ending up like all of the states where it's already cold, and everybody's gone back in. So California has issued a new guidance. It was on October 9th. They published it on the 10th. I'm going to copy the link. I'm going to put it in right here for everybody. And what the highlights of this was is, like we weren't supposed to have any public, gatherings or whatever. Well, we're still not. What they will have allowed is gatherings that include more than 3 households are prohibited. So if you want to have a Halloween gathering, let's say, you can invite 2 other families over, or you can invite your sister and her family and your brother and his family, because just because your family doesn't exempt you from this household business. And I think it's been a really interesting thing that people are like, oh, well, it's family. Well, you don't know where the heck your family's been any more than where I've been or anybody. Well, I don't know. It depends on how much I've been on Facebook, but I haven't really been too many places. But you're not supposed to have groups of more than 3 households together because your household is all, you're contaminating each other on a regular basis. You guys got each other's funk. It's all good. You got 2 other families, 2 other groups that got their own funk. Well, you can bring 3 groups of funk together, but you don't want any more funk than that. I'm sorry. That's just where I went.
This is becoming a science experiment.
Lori loves it when I talk with my hands. But it's a good rule of thumb because we have Thanksgiving coming up, we have Halloween coming up, we got Christmas coming up, all of, Hanukkah's coming up, Passover's coming up, all of these events that we're used to just saying, oh, I don't want so-and-so to be alone. I'm going to invite every single person I know over, and have this big gathering of, 30 people. It's in my house. It's cool. It's like, no, it's not cool. 3 households. That's it. That's 2 more households than we had before, because before it was just your household could get together. And one thing that they figured, us being the crafty Californians that we are, you know, that says that these gatherings are supposed to be mainly held outdoors. And, you know, let's say you go to the park or you go to the beach and you say, I've got my little 3 groups of household funk over here, but guess what? There's another group, a household, 3 households of funk over there, and there's another group over there. Well, that'd just be 3 groups, so we can all join together. No, that's actually 9 groups of funk. And the state's not that stupid. They know that. They know that we're those crafty Californians that are going to try to find a workaround. And no, 3 households, whether you're outside as a group or not. Now, they're saying that you can use the restroom as long as somebody's trying to clean it every now and then, sanitizing it every now and then. I guess maybe get some of those little strips to put over the toilet seat, you know, sanitize for your protection. You can put those now when you have a gathering. But they can occur in outdoor spaces that are covered by umbrellas, canopies, awnings, roofs, and other shade structures, provided that at least 3 sides of the space are open to the outdoors. And I know Lori and I went for dinner outside a while back at our favorite little sushi place. And they had a couple of easy ups that they were using as canopies right when you came in. And I think about it now, one didn't have any sides and one had 1 side, because I was thinking, oh, does that count? And it's like, yeah, they're abiding by the rules. So I'll go back and get sushi.
And we were sitting next to an open side.
Yes, exactly.
Because we could hear up the hill.
Where Lori impressed me like no other. You do not want to have a fight around Lori Muncie. Let me tell you, because she's going to tell you what to do, which is shut up. It was awesome. It was awesome. You know, I call her the stealth badass for a reason, and that was exactly why.
We have to give this a little context because I don't want people to think I just like snap. But
no, she doesn't just like randomly walk up to people and start yelling. No, you know, no, I do more stuff like that. But we're sitting there having our wonderful sushi dinner. And I know our friends in Rancho would know Yamame. They're on the lake in Rancho. It is just to die for. And so we're sitting there having our dinner. And above us, you know, they have a slope and that, like the parking lot's up above. These 2 guys were having a political argument. Now, you know, they're yelling about FISA warrants and this and that and the other, just yelling at each other. Oh yeah, cussing, screaming in a public place. And everybody was just kind of, you know, oh, what are we doing? Oh, clutch my pearls, this is horrible. Except for Lori, because Lori's just a, hey, people are trying to eat down here. Or whatever you said in that
something like that.
It was pretty classy. They shut up and moved on. It was great.
Walked away. I was embarrassed. I looked around and I was like, oh shoot,
Everybody's like,
do that.
bravo.
Like I don't even, it didn't even matter to me what they were saying. It was just they were just so obnoxious about it. I mean, it was a political conversation, but I really wasn't making out the words because it was just yelling and cussing. And I was just like, shut up. So
Ever heard anybody yell FISA warrants at the top of their lungs? I don't know who was on what side of what either. I mean, it was just like blah, 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 blah. And Jim, we don't know if they had masks on. I doubt that they did for the amount of yelling that was going on, but we couldn't see them. We could only hear them. Yeah. It was just the oddest thing. So yeah. Oh, and yeah, you're not supposed to really, if you're going to sing, chant, shout, or have physical exertion that significantly increases the risk of COVID-19, you still need to be wearing a mask. So if you're going to go out and have a political argument in public, you do need a mask to do that. Says so right here. Singing, chanting, and shouting at outdoor gatherings.
How about yodeling? Apparently there was a yodeling competition or concert. I heard it several days ago that happened like the week prior, and it was in Europe somewhere, and initial reports were 500 people tested positive, and then a couple days later it was up to 1,200 people tested positive. So yodeling should be on
Europe's
the list
going
too.
off the chart. Oh, what caused the second wave of COVID in Europe? Yodeling.
Without a mask.
Too funny. Okay, so so we've covered the shouting in public. We'll go back to this. What else do they say? Don't attend gatherings if you feel sick. I think that's a given, but I guess we still all need a reminder. Let's see. Shared items should not be used during a gathering as much as possible. Any food or beverages at outdoor gatherings must be in single-serve disposable containers. You can have somebody, I guess, serve. They need to wash or sanitize their hands frequently and wear a face covering. Self-serve items from communal containers should not be used. Remember that on Thanksgiving, kids.
Yeah, that should have had a parentheses that said no potluck.
Yeah, no potlucks, no buffets. What are these buffet restaurants doing? I mean, are they all closed down or?
There was one I heard of that was doing like you could order off the menu or maybe this was their reopening plan. I don't even know if they're open, but they were going to allow you to basically order off the menu and then the staff would go dish it up for you and bring it to you. So
maybe you give them have them go with their phone through the line. I want a scoop of that. Give me 2 of the Salisbury steaks and throw on a whole bunch of those fried shrimp.
Well, it's funny, as you were going through the list, I was reminded of something else I heard a week or so ago, which was that Sesame Street was going to be doing an episode on COVID-19, and I believe the focus was wearing masks. But as you were going through reading some of the highlights of this, I'm like, this would make such a great Sesame Street episode to walk us through, like, okay, folks, especially when you were doing the 3 in a household, and here's another 3, and here's another 3. I'm totally picturing the count, and he's like, that equals 9.
2, 3.
Okay, we're getting goofy.
Well, it's a little light on the content this week. Let's see, what else did they say? Keep it short. Now, this is an interesting one. Gathering should be 2 hours or less. The longer the duration, the risk of transmission increases. Which, that's just, you can see now why we really can't do open houses. And if you can't see why we shouldn't be doing open houses, we're going to let you know when that Sesame Street program's ready.
Yes, I'm going to be watching for it and announce it. As far as when I heard it, I don't think they'd filmed it yet, but I think they were in the works.
I certainly hope that they do. One thing I thought was funny, I'm kind of just having it riff along here. Instrumental music is allowed as long as the musicians maintain at least 6-foot physical distancing. Musicians must be from one of 3 households, so I guess you better have talented friends before you pull this off. And playing of wind instruments, any instrument played by the mouth, such as trumpet or clarinet, is strongly discouraged. So if you want to sit there and do the trio of trumpets, just do it in your own house. Don't invite your friends over. In fact, if you had friends that actually wanted to come over while you and your household played trumpets, you probably need a new circle of friends anyhow. But that being said, their summary is the more people from different households a person interacts with at a gathering, the closer the physical interaction is, and the longer the interaction lasts, the higher the risk that a person with COVID-19 infections, symptomatic or asymptomatic, may spread it to others. And public health studies have shown risk of transmission increases in indoor spaces. So, if you want to have some folks over, just invite 2 families that you know real well and have them out in your backyard. That's really about all that's to be said about there. I know that they had some interesting links to, like what to do for Halloween, which, I'm kind of fortunate because in my neighborhood, it's just not a thing. But those of you that are like in Ladera Ranch or Rancho Santa Margarita or any of the, communities that tend to have a lot of, younger families gathered together, they're not supposed to be doing trick or treating. You're not, it's like, hi, let's just go be a COVID carrier and have people throw crap in a bag and you bring it home. And now you got a pumpkin full of funk. And we've already had a discussion of funk and we don't want to talk about that anymore. So, there's different links that you can go on to. I may see if I can find that article and put it in because it was really a very interesting piece.
The Halloween article.
Yeah. Well, the whole article with all of the different links, all kinds of things. It was really, really a good article for New York Times, and they didn't seem to have a paywall on it. So anything we can get without a paywall.
And since we have friends across the state who join us, this says it's for the state of California, but local jurisdictions might have even stricter rules. So
thank you for the disclaimer.
I'm not an attorney, but I try to at least throw out the disclaimers now and then.
That's
for our protection.
That's right. Okay. And the only other thing I have really to talk about is book club. We've got book club tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. And don't think that, well, I didn't read the book, so I can't go to book club because I won't know what they're talking about. If you want a history lesson on horrible things that went on in mainly the 60s, excuse me, 60s and 70s for as far as I've gotten, but I'm sure there's more. Come join the Deliberately Fair Housing Book Club tomorrow night at 4:30. So tomorrow, late afternoon, early evening. And we're going to be discussing the book Race for Profit. And I'll say this, the two groups, I'm an admin on both groups. So I kind of consider them little sister groups or maybe brother groups, depending on how you want to look at siblings. We'll keep it gender neutral.
They're gender neutral.
Gender neutral. But, the two groups kind of overlap on different things because I think if you're a nerdy realtor, you're here to learn best practices, how to be safe, what's happening currently, all of those good things that we're here trying to be better professionals. Well, the Deliberately Fair Housing Group is a little bit more focused on fair housing issues. One of the things that I think is really interesting is we're covering a lot of things that explain how did we get to where we are today? How did we get to this point in 2020 with the social unrest and, people sitting here saying, we want this and we want that. If you learn history, a lot of this history hasn't even been presented to us as a group until this year. I mean, if 2020 has been good for anything, it's been good for insightful history lessons, and Race for Profit is definitely an insightful history lesson. Lori, you want to mention anything about it?
About the book? About the book club?
Yeah, anything. What you thinking?
Well, I have some other thoughts on it. You can finish that part and then I can chime in.
I'm done with my thoughts. You go.
Okay. Well, yeah. So join our book club. It's a very interesting book. I'm not that far into it myself, but I will be part of the conversation, and I'm excited to see who we have that has RSVP'd for the session. So please join us just to listen, even if you've not read. But what I was thinking when you were talking about this is I've had some recent experience with our new fair housing form, our fair housing disclosure, fair housing discrimination and advisory form. And it was quite an interesting week to go over that. So I had a couple of brokers that I chat with on a regular basis mention their experience with it, and a lot of good, but a couple not as good. And then I had a personal experience with reviewing it with a client, and the client has a property that he's leasing out, and he's going to be leasing it to a relative. So there was no selection process. It was in the family, but he wanted some help with, having a contract. And so I started to describe the form, and he kind of joked about it. And I was really annoyed with it. So I had to kind of talk him through. I said, I understand that this doesn't apply, but let's kind of talk about how we got here. And I think that and so I started to, me
Sorry.
again. With some of these conversations I've been hearing, they've been different than what we've been talking about in our circle. Our circle has been very excited to have this form, pleased that it's automatically attached, confident in having the conversations with their clients. But we have to be honest with ourselves and realize that not everybody is coming from that same place. And so a couple of the conversations were basically, isn't this overkill? And I just sort of froze for a second because that really hit, like that hit hard. That no, this is not overkill. And so I wanted to just kind of remind everybody that we have to be prepared when we go over that disclosure, that advisory. I keep on it, it's an advisory, because not everybody is coming from the same point of view as we are. And we have to educate. This is our opportunity to educate. And, you know, if people think that this is just about the Black Lives Matter movement, they're wrong. I mean, there's 24 protected classes listed on there. So there's a lot of folks who have been, you know, disadvantaged in their housing opportunities. Was it spurred because of the issues? Yes, definitely. But it was something that was needed. There are a lot of groups who need that support, need that protection. And so it's a bigger conversation, but what happened was it really opened my eyes to the fact that, you know, weeks ago we were celebrating this form and thought, great, you know, this is going to make a difference. And it is. I don't want to discount that. It is making a difference, but we still have a lot of work to do. And I think that the way an agent will explain it to their clients sets the tone. It may or may not be the client that has an issue. So we have to be thoughtful of that and figure out, okay, well, how, as a broker, how do we make sure that our agents are all on the same page of the value of this form, the meaning of this form, the depth of this form? So it really kind of struck me, and it's been weighing on me for several days of, okay, so how do I have these conversations now with other people who are just kind of thinking like, it's overkill. It's disappointing.
Well, and you know, the interesting thing is the thought process that went behind this form, because this wasn't a form thought up by the lawyers at CAR saying we need to do something. This form was brought to CAR by a group of concerned CAR directors because of the lack of information within our listing agreements and our lease agreements and our purchase agreements. There was one line. I don't know if anybody caught the OCAR risk management form because it kind of got shuffled in last week, which is a shame. But the last 5 minutes is Neil Kalin talking about the form, and he was spot on to the reasons why this was brought out or brought up by these 5 directors, which was there was one line. There's one line in all of our forms saying equal opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I can't even remember it, but it's one line. We had a nice long discussion this morning about veterans and active military. How many people here knew that veterans and active military are a protected class? I didn't know until the form came out. I had no idea. And the thought process behind this form was really not so much for our clients. Granted, it works out really handy when you have that client who says, well, you know, I really don't want to sell my house to those kind of people. It gives you a great way to segue, and guess what? You don't have a choice who you sell this house to. As long as they're qualified, they're the most qualified person. Boom. So it helps give you a tool to deal with clients that may be saying things that you're totally not cool with. But let's say you are cool with those things. Guess what? We want we wanted this forum to educate the agents as well, that you can't carry your personal biases and your personal prejudices with you into a transaction. And honestly, we were very disappointed that there was not spots for the agent signatures on this form as well, because as much as our clients need it, the realtors need it too. So there may be a little, you know, I don't know. I don't know if the group's going to push it or not. But the fact of the matter is the realtors need to be reading this form, and they need to be understanding what it is when they're asking their clients to sign it. And personally, I think the realtors should be signing it too.
I agree. I was surprised that it didn't include that as well, because we have other advisories that we sign along with the
Yeah,
client.
I think they just ran out of space myself.
Maybe. The good
but-
news though, the light at the end of the tunnel on my downer here is there will be a webinar on the 28th. So I'll post the link. It's a CAR webinar on the form.
Mhm.
And so there will be an FAQ that goes along with it, because they've received a lot of questions, obviously, especially on the best practices, do's and don'ts section of the form. And so we'll put the link in there, and I really encourage everyone to watch it. Register. If you're unable to attend, you should be able to, you should receive the link afterwards so you can catch the replay. And if not, it'll be on the CAR's website. They keep all their recorded webinars archived and accessible. But I think that one's going to be a really important one to listen to yourself. Could Lisa and I recap it? Sure, we can. But you got to hear things for yourself sometimes. And this is one of those things that I just think, make the time. I think it's just an hour. At max, it's 90 minutes, but they're usually an hour. And so I would encourage everyone to watch that. It's on the 28th. I'll post it because I don't remember what time it's at. I forgot.
And we're very fortunate that we just got the link to the YPN forum, their history of fair housing. And I'll put that as a post in this group. I'll put it as a post in Deliberately Fair Housing as well. But, come join us tomorrow. If it's not just to listen, we're not going to be doing mandatory. So what did you get out of this book? Because that's not what this is about. This is about learning, listening. We've got some amazing people that have signed up for this book club. I mean, we've got the queen, Evelyn Arnold. If you guys don't know who Evelyn Arnold is, you just need to know Evelyn Arnold. She is probably one of the most amazing human beings in this profession, along with being just an amazing human being. She's going to take her time and join us, and just to hear what Evelyn has to say. And Malcolm Bennett, another one of my favorite people. These are people that experience this stuff over the years. It can give you firsthand knowledge. And you know what, as much as we would like to say, oh, well, I understand. Even if you could walk 1,000 miles in a person's shoes, the bulk of us are not going to understand. Every one of us has our own thing in life. We all have our own trials, tribulations. We all have, whatever it is. But to understand, you gotta listen. And what I've heard over the past few months have just really changed my way of looking at things, have changed the level of importance on many things. And come join us. It's free. It's free. That's all I'm going to say about that. So anyhow, it's 10:57. We actually did fill an hour. Anything else that you got going on up here? Because you always got good stuff going on up there.
Not today. I'll make sure I've got some stuff for next week.
Good. Wonderful. Well, and guys, thank you so much for joining us. We've got a good sized group join us the whole time today. But I hope that we'll see you guys in. Just use the link I have there for Eventbrite. And the only reason we're doing the Eventbrite is so we can send a secure link for Zoom and an outline of questions. That should be going out probably late today. But we'd love to see you there. So come join us. And if you haven't joined the Deliberately Fair Housing group, come on over and join us too. Yeah, there's a little crossover, but there's a lot of stuff that is not crossed over. So we'd love to have you join us.
Yeah, and if you have any burning questions that we can talk about in the coming weeks, send us a note.
Yeah, because now it's entering the holiday season. Yay. Yeah. You know how excited I am, right?
Make of that.
Well, it's just, we don't ever really do large family gatherings to begin with. So for us, it's not going to be that difficult. But it's just going to be a very COVID Christmas.
Yeah, and now we can email our family the state guidance on gatherings, and that can be our excuse.
Golly gee, I'm really sorry you can't make it. I've already hit the 3 families of funk. I can't do no more funk. We're all out of funk.
Yeah, no more fun. Oh my God.
All righty. Well, we will see you all next week. Have a wonderful week. Go sell a house.
Yep. For being here with us. Take care.
All righty.